my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah. I look into the sky with all the beautiful color, but there's more than just for me, so gonna share it with another. I got to show, to give, let out. I want to sing and shout. Take a look and see a beautiful morning.
Been in here and people are roaring with laughter, so.
It's a dirty show, though.
Well, it's clean dirt.
You have here the best of the best.
Yes.
So we have many celebrities here. The Harley Madison come over here, and the Usher come over here many often, and the Paris Hilton come here.
Well, I'm dating myself, but it's okay. Nobody else will. Oh.
That's so Vegas.
How do you see the world?
Ha! At Shriners Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into everyday miracles.
Like riding my bike.
Breaking boards. Ha! Hugging my mom. Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Welcome to That's So Vegas. I'm your host, Christine McKellar. I'm here at the fabulous Las Vegas Arts District in my studio with two very fantastic and obviously very beautiful people. I'm here with Melinda Jackson and Michael Kessler, and you are both incredible performers, dancers. You've developed a company called American Dance Theater. You've danced all over the country and the world. You do unique, creative productions, and also you've started a nonprofit where you're teaching the love of this art to children and even older people who want to, expand something in their lives, perhaps even when they retire or something. So there's so much to talk about. You have great backgrounds just personally and in your business. So I guess we should start with the Rose, which is Melinda. Tell us a little bit about, why don't you tell us about how you met Michael?
Okay.
A little romance.
Definitely. Well, I met Michael actually in ballet class at Maggie Black's in New York City. Mm-hmm. And in those days, those classes were very, very full. There was a 9:30 a.m. for all the professionals we were all going on to jobs either on Broadway or New York City Ballet, American Ballet Theater, Paul Taylor Company, or one of the various Broadway shows that was running at the time. So it was a slew of very interesting and very accomplished people. Mm-hmm. And among them was Michael. But Michael was always surrounded by lots of women.
I bet.
And because he was really one of the few straight guys in class. Uh-huh.
And he's drop dead gorgeous, but forget about that.
And in those days, he used to wear boxing shorts and basketball socks. He never wore tights, nothing like that. Uh-huh. And he had wristbands. And he would walk in his hands and do his push-ups and did a lot of acrobatics before class. Uh-huh. And the girls just loved him. So I kind of kept my distance because I realized, you get in the elevator going up to the studio and it'd be Michael and 5 girls.
And they were all drooling?
So I just wasn't that interested. And I think maybe that was a good thing.
I was going to ask you, when you were riding up in the elevator with the 5 other girls, were you really like eyeing her over and above?
Well, I just thought Melinda was the prettiest girl, and she was also very super friendly to me. Mm-hmm. We just hit it off pretty much right away, but she kept me at arm's length for some time. Uh-huh. But I would always try to stand behind her and at the bar and
Maggie would always separate us.
She wanted you to focus.
She wanted us to focus, and he would say things to me like, "Why don't you take that sweater off? Why don't you take those pants off? You're warmed up by now."
You devil.
And I'd say, "I'm not warmed up yet."
Well, she used to wear all these like raggy baggies, and I'd say, if you would just wear your unitard, you get a lot more attention in class. So I ended up to be right. Finally, I got her to do that. And
you, as the attraction grew and grew, were you starring in any productions together, or
we actually decided to collaborate together on something we would form together. And I actually called him, and I was doing some creative work because in New York, even though you have maybe your regular theater job, whichever show you may be involved in, people are it's not unusual to want to do your own thing, is what's happening here. And very young, and we were very young, I had already done a lot of work, and so had Michael. And I was interested in producing a little project with two girlfriends. Two European friends of mine who I'd met in New York and also worked with in Europe. And so I said, well, we need a good director choreographer for that. And I said, let's call Michael Kessler. Because I'd seen him, but I had not had an intimate relationship with him. So I called him up and he got on the project. And very soon it was evident to me that he was far more qualified than my two girlfriends who were co-producers.
Oh.
And so not from directing and choreographing to actually partnering me. He created material for the little company we'd put together. And it was just an independent venture, something different from, I grew up in the city. I had done extensive work there, and it was just really fun to have something different. And that was the genesis of how we really began.
Right. The first number we created together was a Tina Turner's version of the Beatles song Help. And it was a very searing, heavy piece because this was the 80s. This was during the big crack epidemic in New York. And it was actually a piece about a crack addict and his wife and how he has to decide between the drug addiction and the relationship. And,
so the dirty mistress was the drugs,
right?
And then the loving, devoted, and stable wife was the protagonist.
Yeah, that was the anchor. And then ultimately, what happened was that piece was so successful that we built a whole show around it called Lost Luggage, which was our first actual production in 1987. We started a little at the Emmanuel Y on 14th Street, and within 10 months, we were playing sold-out opera houses and theaters all over Europe, in 36 cities, and that was really how our career got started.
In Austria, Germany, Switzerland, Holland, Belgium, Italy, France. Wow. The first tour we did together, and it was a takeoff from that. We built, as Michael explained, built a whole show around it, and it was an opportunity for us to do something together that was original and new and different. It did really, really well. We ended up doing 9 international tours with different promoters. How long were you on tour? Many times, several months at a time.
Yeah,
34 cities. 34 cities. So sometimes we would do the first one in 38 days, as I was about to say.
So is that where your relationship blossomed and grew to something?
I think
permanent?
it really happened because we had been friends actually for a few years as kids. She had another boyfriend. I had another girlfriend.
We met as teenagers,
and I remember I lived at the time on 72nd Street between Broadway and Columbus. And I looked out onto 72nd Street one summer day, and I saw Melinda's red hair bouncing down the street.
How romantic.
And so I ran down all 5 flights, tore down, and I ran into every store trying to find her. I couldn't find her. But how we really got together, I think the romance blossom was in the working process. When we started to actually create and be together every day and partner, we just realized that we cared so much for each other.
You were meant to be.
And we just fit together. We had so many of the same likes and desires, goals and tastes,
and you were building that love and trust, because there's a lot of love and trust in what you do when you're dancing together and you're flipping her around. I've seen some of your videos; they are fantastic. And also, you both have that. We'll talk too further on into the episode about the dance theater and how you're it's a nonprofit for children.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
And this is probably the production you have coming up that's going to be at the Windmill Library.
Right, the Windmill Library Theater.
Kind of tells your life story, doesn't it? In a sense, the ups and downs, the trials of Broadway.
This one actually not as much. This one is really a kind of a salute to musical theater. It's it's a spin-off from the Young People's Guide to Broadway that we did. This one is oriented a little bit more towards adults, although it's certainly appropriate for children.
Of course,
it's family entertainment.
I can't think of porno or ballet. No, we have to take a quick break. Tease the viewer on that. No, it's not porno ballet. This is actually the most professional, incredibly gifted and talented, and they have a message and a gift to share with the whole world. So a quick shout out to the Red Roof Inn. They're my sponsor. No parking fees. No resort fees. Don't you love it? Yeah. Pet friendly, across from the soon-to-be Virgin Hotel. You know, the Hard Rock is going to be the Virgin Hotel. And they're close to the airport and the Strip. So don't go away. I'll be right back with M&M, the best dancers here in Las Vegas. What a couple. See you in a minute. Do you wish that you could grab a front row seat in for free to some of the greatest entertainment in Las Vegas? Would you like to feel like a VIP with behind-the-scenes access to who and what makes Las Vegas the entertainment capital of the world? That's So Vegas brings you up close and personal from the comfort of your home and or the comfort of your phone. Watch candid interviews with Vegas celebrities, entertainers, chefs, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Like us on Facebook, join us on Twitter, and subscribe to our That's So Vegas TV channel to get each week's latest episodes. I'd like to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, CR Realty Services here in the Las Vegas Arts District. Welcome back to That's So Vegas. I'm your host, Christine McKellar. I'm here with Melinda and Michael. I'm so happy to have you here. America Dance Theater. You have a production coming up at the Windmill Library Theater. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And also just we were rehashing all the wonderful things that you've done and contributed and how you met, which is I always like a little bit of romance myself, and it's very romantic. You've been all over Europe. We were just talking on break that you were part of the 30-year anniversary production for the musical Hair.
Yes,
and
we directed and choreographed the 30th anniversary tour.
Dang, it's just amazing, you know, to revisit that, especially because we were probably all doing pretty much the same thing, except I was not doing ballet back in the 80s, right? And now here you are. I'm so happy to have you as guests.
Thank you for having us, Christine. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to the production. It's kind of a mouthful for me, but your production is the
Broadway Love Songs and Dances and Backstage Stories.
Yes, and it tells all about your relationship and different elements and everything, and that is not this Friday, but next Friday.
That's right.
Again, it's the Windmill Theater Library. Now, one would think of a library as not being a theater, per se. I mean, we have talk shows and authors at the Flamingo.
And it actually has a really beautiful theater.
Yes.
It's very nice. It's very well appointed. It's a nice size house, and the staff is lovely.
Yeah, and it's good for us because one of the things that they have is they have a pretty good facility for full stage projection in the background. So this production uses full stage projections, stills, and some video as scenic elements. So we get a good look there.
And you worked with Keith Thompson, who is one of Vegas' most beloved producers, choreographers. Tell us about that experience with him.
Well, you know, Keith and I friends since and we actually met many years ago in New York. We were both working for a man named Larry Alford. And when I first met Keith, he was actually not music director, he was a singer-dancer in the shows.
I didn't know.
And yes, but he did have all the musical training and talent, and he has gone on to do so many wonderful things. And when we came back out to Vegas a little over 10 years ago, people said, hey, there's this guy doing this composer showcase. His name is Keith Thompson. I said, Keith Thompson? So I called him up and I said, hey, Keith, you probably don't remember me, but it's Michael Kessler. He goes, of course I remember you. And so we started working together, and he did an arrangement for a show that we were doing called Dancing Feet, which was sort of a mythologically based show. It was about two muses named Dancing Manio and Twinkle Tonia, who get kicked out of Mount Olympus because they're voted off of Dancing with the Gods. And they have 1 week to inspire two floundering mortals to get their immortal status back.
A little redemption there,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we always like to do shows that have some underlying theme or story.
And you like to mentor people. I know you're
We
very
do.
involved with the youth. Tell us a little bit about that.
we
That's
do. Well, I mean, I grew up as a child in New York City, and by the time I was 11, Jerry Robbins, was directing us backstage at the top studio of New York State Theater with New York City Ballet, and I joined New York City Ballet at 11 and got my union card, American Guild of Musical Artists in those days. And I had the pleasure of being mentored by him. And we sort of auditioned, but we auditioned in the sense that I was at School of Balancing School, and they selected and chose various people to be a part of whatever production. And it was such an interesting experience for me as a child, and challenging, and it grew you up so quickly because every day, in my case, I would get on 2 buses, the crosstown bus and then the Broadway bus, and get off at State Theater, and the doors were big and the elevators were huge. You're 11,
Right.
and you get up there and you got to be quiet, and Jerry's standing there in his white sneakers and his work shirt, and Mr. B. Balanchine is in the corner somewhere working with the adults. And I thought, even then I realized this is an extraordinary experience that I'm having. This man is a giant of Broadway, as well as being the associate choreographer for Balanchine. And he's telling us what to do. And he's talking to us completely professionally.
He didn't talk down to you. I think
Completely
that's
professionally,
right.
and that's what I learned.
Right.
And so I thought, we've reached a stage in our life where it's important to mentor others and to share this wealth of information and knowledge, and we've been very blessed to have fantastic training in many areas. And I thought, this is a great opportunity, and I already had a blueprint, and my blueprint was the way Jerry Robbins worked with us. And I thought, pick the best children you can find, and the best doesn't always mean of course training is very important, but enthusiasm, personality, spirit,
Right.
joy,
Right.
the willingness to do it. You may not be the best, but you want to do it. Those are the kids that are going to go somewhere.
Wow. So you're doing that right now. What is the name? We have to take a break because this segment went by too quick. But so you just came back, you were saying, from New York, where you were doing the
Yes,
busy
the young people's
We came back
Guide to Broadway.
from South Florida. We did South Florida tour, and Keith came with us.
Oh, great.
And we did Young People's Guide to Broadway. For that, we auditioned. We began the auditions last July. We ended up selecting 10 kids out of that group, and then
Tiny little things, age 7 to 10,
They're
so
precious,
adorable.
I bet, and so
great.
eager,
Oh,
right?
You see,
and probably
they're
so
divine.
scared. It's important.
none of them were scared. They were
They were so
obedient.
enthusiastic.
We don't believe in mentoring with there's some
The
very
iron-
abusive.
right.
No, that's old world. We believe in encouragement, and fun, and joy,
And always
making
teaching
it
them things. Like,
Well, you
constantly-
both just radiate all of that. I'm gonna again. I have to take a quick break. The Red Roof Inn radiates for. I have to give them a compliment. Again, free Wi-Fi breakfast, pet friendly, close to the airport and Strip. Don't go away. We're just warming up almost, and we have to go into our third and last segment. We'll be right back with Melinda and Michael. See you in a minute.
It's pretty amazing when you consider that 7 years ago, we didn't have the treatments we have now. We cure 80% of children with cancer. If you think about that, I mean, go back 50 years, we were curing 20 to 30%. This is the miracle story of modern medicine. We understand what makes this cancer tick. And of course, without donors from around the world, this just couldn't happen. And there's one thing we're focused on here at St. Jude, and that's beating this thing.
Welcome back to That's So Vegas. I hope you're not just joining us, because this has really been a very fun, informative, and entertaining half-hour episode here. We have just zipped through it. I'm with Melinda and Michael and M&M Dance Theater. We've just got so much to cover. You've been working with a local favorite, Keith Thompson, who's, produced, choreographed, performed all over the world. I'm going to have him on the show as a guest one day. So we're not going to give Keith too much airtime right now, because we have just a few minutes left, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about you. Love that you're mentoring children, that you, as you mentioned earlier, and both of you have trained under some of the best. You do have genetically some interesting roots that I noticed on your website, which is www.americandance.biz. And Melinda, you're the granddaughter of Teddy Roosevelt.
I'm actually the great-granddaughter.
Excuse me. I should say great-great-great, because you look like you could be the great-great-great.
Bless you.
Yeah, so that's an interesting background, and then you're
just the great-grandfather also. So that's one great. He was a cantor, in a well-known cantor in his small Russian village that he lived in Stebilev. So Yanko Sanzovsky.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, the cantor. Makes you think of Neil Diamond right off the bat, doesn't it? Jazz Singer, wasn't that a great movie?
Sure was.
Just love it. He's retired, but we're not talking about Neil, and I'll never get him on my show. So what would you like to leave with our viewers? We know that you have a production that you've worked very hard on, and tell us.
Yes, well, it's called Broadway Love Songs and Dances and Backstage Stories. And it's a tribute to the great music of Broadway shows over the past 90 years, from Showboat through Hamilton, also incorporating some of our personal anecdotes of having known and worked with some of the greats in the business, like Bob Fosse and Joe Layton, and I had a lot of personal experiences with Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon, his wife, and Nicole.
You guys have been married for what now, 30 years or so? And
you just had our anniversary.
Congratulations. And you met as basically almost children yourself.
Right.
We talked about that earlier, but of course there was the little wooing going on there for a while. But it seems to me a lot of the interpretations in your original numbers and everything, with that kind of a bond and that many years of trust, and it brings another element to it that you just couldn't find in a cut and dried type of production, or when you bring in one artist and another artist and they just get to practice for a little bit. So
you can't bypass the time that it takes to enrich a relationship, and a really deep, rich, committed relationship that has that kind of trust, and also that kind of fighting and all the things that go with it.
I mean, you're 24/7 together.
Yes, we are.
You're gracefully twisting her into shapes of pretzel, wouldn't even, but there's
singing very loudly in my ear.
And in your ear.
Because there's a lot of song and dance also in the production, a lot of storytelling.
Right, and I love that you really want to mentor children and develop that same trust and that love of the theater in them and dance.
Well, we had so many terrific, great mentors coming up, and we've appreciated it so much, and we realize that it's our time and our turn to pass it on and see what this next generation will create, and I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
I think so
Very
too.
exciting.
Have
very
you seen
exciting.
a change, though? I mean, with the different music. Say I grew up in the 80s, and then you had the electronic music, and then you had twerking. I mean, I can't see a ballet dancer twerking. I don't know
Well,
that.
I think that dance is, we prefer to look at dance as an open palette. Yes, we have very strong classical training. And we've, and in order to do any of the Broadway market, you have to do theater dance, and nowadays you have of course, hip hop. But hip hop is old. It's not new.
But it's vernacular dance.
It's street dancing.
And all the great dancing, whether it was waltzing or tango or break dancing, which I got very involved with in the 80s. I learned how to break and do all this kind of stuff because I would see the kids dancing on the street, and I'd say, "Hey man, you want to learn how to do a back handspring?" So I'd teach a kid how to do back handspring, and they taught me how to glide and how to pop, and so all the theatrical dance really is a synthesis of classical training and vernacular dance, and using that to help further the storytelling.
I love that description.
That's exactly what we try to do. When we work with the children, we encourage them to be expressive. And yes, ballet is important, but there are many other styles of dance that are very important as well. Ballet is the basis that we encourage all of you out there. Please get into a ballet class. It's very important. But there's the singing side, there's the acting side that needs to be honed as well. And you need your basics, but then there's a lot more that comes as you get further into the field.
So they can build if you're trying to give them the proper tools to build and develop, because different personalities too, right?
Exactly.
With the little ones.
Well, that's what we had such a wonderful time with, that the little ones recently that we've been working with are very open-minded.
We say to them, now, we try to teach them stuff all the time, so one of the things we say is, now what do you have to be using at all times? Our imagination.
That's precious.
In other words, they're not just executing movements or saying words or singing
they're
lyrics.
Not little robots.
Not at all.
That they're visualizing what they're saying, and they're committing to and identifying with that.
Quickly, because we just seem to burn through this. There's so much good information here. I find that happens when my guests are on alive and on fire like you guys are. How would a parent, or how do they contact you? On your website?
Through the website is the best way. AmericanDance.biz. They can email it to there, and we'll get back to them. That's the best way.
And also the information is on there for not this Friday, but next Friday at the Windmill Library Theater. I'm going to be there.
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Yes. I know it's going to be a fabulous production. Keith Thompson will probably be there.
He will be there.
He's the musical director on the project.
He's playing, and he sings with us as well.
I can't wait. This is really going to be spectacular. I hate to take off, but the show must go on. We have some entertainment updates, too, that we run after the show, and I just want to thank you again. And you know what I'd like to say? Bless you both for your contributions. You bring beauty into the world just with your craft, and then you're sharing it and you're passing that legacy on. I think it's just wonderful. So,
well, thank
you so much, Christine, for having us.
And thank you for doing this great show.
Yes.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I mean, when I get guests like you, it just makes all the hard work worth it. Until next week, again, the entertainment updates are right after this segment. But again, my viewers, you get to see them live and in person at the Windmill Theater Library. Go to www.americandance.biz. B-I-Z.
www.americandance.biz.
You really got to go there. Check out some of those video clips, too. Until next week, I'm Christine McKellar, and that's So Vegas. I'm Christine McKellar with today's co-host, Trixie Louise McKellar, and we're here to bring you Las Vegas' latest weekly updates. Marilyn Monroe will be coming alive on stage when Marilyn the New Musical opens at the Paris in May with 20 original musical numbers. It'll tell the story of the sexy icon's rise from her days as Norma Jean with her troubled childhood to her stardom and eternal fame. Marilyn the New Musical is an original musical written, directed, and produced by Tegan Summer, CEO of Prospect House Entertainment, in partnership with Authentic Brands Group, owner of the estate of Marilyn Monroe. Everyone now knows the Hard Rock Hotel has gone virgin. The property will continue as the Hard Rock Hotel through 2019 before it's transformed into Virgin Hotels Las Vegas. Plans are for the hotel to undergo hundreds of millions of dollars worth of renovations over multiple phases. Las Vegas landmark Ellis Island Casino Hotel and Brewery, located behind Ballery's, will kick off a casino-wide anniversary party Saturday, April 14th. Festivities will include casino floor and karaoke lounge giveaways, drink specials in the bars, and dinner specials in the restaurant, including the original bowl of chili and ham sandwich combo available back in 1968. A collector's edition anniversary $5 chip will be available at the gaming tables through the rest of 2018. Calling all Criminal Minds fans on one of them, the Dina Martin Celebrity Roast, honoring actor, producer, writer, director Joe Mantegna, will be held at the showroom at South Point on Sunday, April 15th at 6 p.m. Martin is continuing her father, Dean Martin's famous legendary celebrity roasts, which ran on NBC TV between 1974 to 1984. Tickets start at $45. For dining updates, family-friendly events, and spring fundraisers, browse the VegasOnlyEntertainment.com website under Vegas VIP Scenery. Until next week, I'm Christine McKellar, along with Trixie Louise McKellar, and that's So Vegas.
1, 2, 3, 4, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah.